My name is Ajmal Bynum. I'm the chair of the board of Movement I'm All for Race Equity. It's an organization that deals with anti-racism issues, advocacy, transparency, accountability. And we've been around for about 10 years. And in the last few years, we've focused much more on dealing with issues of bringing people in the community together and dealing with issues related to race, culture, diversity, and so on. Today, we have with us a special guest, Stacey Hunnicutt, who is the owner of Building Our Own LLC, which operates several community-centered businesses such as Essential Gathering Places, the Essential Shop, Essential Eat, and Essential Hauling. She has some comments on a Facebook page that illustrates that she is working as a community member who is embarking on changing the status quo of our current regimes. What is interesting is her work with local entrepreneurs and grassroots leadership. We invited her to talk about her programs, the challenge she's facing working with the African American community, and so on and so on. So, Stacey, can you share a little bit more about yourself with the participants?
Hi, I'm Stacey McClain Hunnicutt. I am the owner of Building Our Own LLC, and I do business as the Essential Gathering Place, the Essential Hauling, Essential Eats, and the Essential Shop, and the Essential Years Child Care Center. My main focus of creating that platform was that we could collaborate together. I know here in North Omaha, it is sometimes a challenge with financing to be able to, afford a storefront or some local place to gather. And so when I created that, it was so we could collaborate together. And so when you together, you might not have to be the only person that knows something about something, but everybody together, we're whole. We become one.
Good, good. Now, many have heard of the gathering place. What are the major objectives or activities about that place, and how can the community member utilize that place?
Well, first and foremost, it is a collaboration for small emerging businesses to come in. So the building itself is still it is a church. It's a church transformed into different businesses in one place. The church for me was the basis of everything that a community needs. So in that space, we have um, a restaurant. So Fatty's Barbecue utilizes the commercial kitchen. Also, other vendors are come in and do a pop-up, a Saturday pop-up, a Sunday pop-up, but Fatty's Barbecue utilizes it Monday through Friday. It also is a space, event space. So it is an affordable event space for the community to come in, whether it's a baby shower, wedding, gender reveal, and unfortunately a whole lot of repasses that we have had lately. And also it's a community spot. We've held, let me see, Black Men United has come in and did events for Mother's Day. We have Kasim has come in and did gun safety. We have had Kwanzaa there. Leo Lewis has come in and we've done Kwanzaa a few years now. And then any person in the community who has some kind of information that they want to give to the community are asked to come in and utilize a space. It is not a free space. It is not, we're not nonprofit. We do run our business on revenues that we make, and that revenues go back into the running of Building Our Own LLC. So we do have opportunities for some entities to come in for little to nothing, but mostly there is a fee for the use of that space.
By the way, when you use the word, I don't know, we say the pop-up. What does pop-up mean when you say sometimes people
Pop-up,
do pop-up?
pop-up is, I call them expos. So I used to have one or two a month where 15, 20, 25 different businesses to come together and showcase their merchandise, whether they were selling a service or whether they were selling merchandise. So we would get together and have a pop-up shop. So it was very fun. It became a lot of work getting our community to buy local. So it started during COVID, right after COVID, It started a lot of pop-ups, people coming together, bringing their merchandise. So a one-stop shop. So you can come in and you can see 20 different businesses at an expo at the Essential Gathering Place.
Okay.
We haven't done it. We haven't done it for a while. So a spinoff from that, when after the pop-ups, I actually opened a local retail shop, which was the Essential Shop, which was located at 4924 Ames Avenue. And it had 20 different other businesses in there that sold their merchandise.
Okay. Some months ago, I participated in a community meeting with the Family Advisory Committee Service at the TAC building.
Mhm.
And when I reached out to Director Teresa Hunter by letter and phone and working hours, I did not hear back from her regarding the meeting demographics. Because I was trying to figure out how they could network with other people because they had a number of grassroots folks in the meeting, people like that. My question is, what kind of data do you have with your programs to demonstrate outcomes and effectiveness? Because a lot of nonprofits will do meetings or have things, but they have nothing to show if somebody was asking for future funding or anything like that. So how do you keep track of what you do in a given year or given month with all these different entities that you work with?
Well, we are revenue based, so we are not a nonprofit. So our revenue is accounted for and our numbers. So we just keep a track of our income, not so much as what meetings we have, but how much income we make.
Okay,
And
that's
like
your
I
main
said,
criteria. There's the
yeah,
income.
the income, because it is income based. I do own the building. I did have a mortgage. So all the monies that came into the building went back to paying utilities bills, the insurance on the building, paying for items, tables, chairs, linen for tablecloths. So everything goes back into the business.
Okay. Now, what kind of numbers do you have? Do you keep track of the number of people or events you have? In other words, you mentioned a lot of different entities or activities.
Mhm.
In a given year, how many people would you say, if you had to estimate, use your place, whether it be in a month or a year, would you say at the gathering place?
Mm. So
Ballparkish?
there's 4 Saturdays in a month. So during the summertime, um, there's at least 10 events during the summertime.
Okay.
Right now we probably um, well, twice a two for eight a month. We have 8 events per month, and right now we have an organization that uses the building Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I can't remember the name of the group. I'll have to look it up, but they're practicing for Black History Month, so
Oh,
they're in the
okay.
building every month. Every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they come in, a group of kids from all over North and South Omaha come in and practice for this Black History Month. So do I keep track of that? Not really. I'm a one man show.
Okay, no,
If
I
you,
understand.
I am a one man show. I do have staff. I have I have 13 different people that work for me, whether it be the child care center, whether it be the gathering place, whether it be a van driver. So right now I keep track of 13 different employees plus the child care center. So it's time consuming. So I don't keep track of how many people utilize, just the dollars.
Okay. One of the things I noticed on one of your Facebook posts, you talked about some legislation, LB 304, that deals with child care state funding to help small families or business on. What is the talking points of that bill and what's the status of that from your vantage point?
Oh, I'm glad you asked about LB 304 because I am trying to sound the alarm along with a lot of other people. LB 304 is a bill, it's called the Sunset Bill. Um, Back they changed, you have to qualify for Title 20. So it's a subsidy child care program. So you have to qualify, and the way you qualify is the percentage of the federal poverty guideline that they have set. It's a set number. So right now, Nebraska has where you have to, it's 185, 80% of that. But if that bill passes, it'll go back down to 130%, which means with January, with the minimum wage going to $15 an hour, a lot of single moms will not meet that criteria. They will not qualify for Title 20.
Wow.
And the effect of that is a domino effect because it's economics, because it's workers. Your worker will not be able to come to work because you won't qualify for Title 20. We also know that the SNAP benefits, in order to receive SNAP, you have to work at least 20 hours a week or volunteer. They might not even qualify if they go into a job that pays at a higher rate. So it's a catch-22. Work, but where will my child, how will I get childcare if I work? If I make more than $15 an hour and I make 40 hours, I work 40 hours, the guideline, I believe at 40 hours, $15 an hour, you're well over, I think it's like a $20,000, $22,000. I would have to get the paper to get the numbers, but I've posted the number on my page, and it's crazy. It's way, way below the poverty guidelines. It's crazy numbers, and
Hmm.
numbers don't lie.
I remember years back, Gwen Easter, some other folks was really concerned about how the state and different entities came in, and as they call it, it was a great shift in home child care and people in the community having able to take care of kids. And again, some of those, I want to call them carpetbagger organizations or entities came in and got a lot of that federal or state funding. And so a lot of the people who used to do child care or even early childhood type things were put out of business because it became big business for these corporations and these entities. But I know she was really one of the main ones complaining about it. That's all. So crazy.
Yeah, I heard that, and I didn't move back into Omaha till 2008. And at that time, I became a home center, and I think I was one of the few to have a home too, which they made these crazy rules. You had to have a storm shelter, and you had to do all these things that you just couldn't do to a home, especially if you didn't own it.
Right.
So there were some rules that came out. But right now, I believe it's a shortage. I went to a conference a few months ago, and they were talking about some of the places in rural Nebraska that the corporations there are not able to hire people because there is no child care.
Wow.
So I would challenge anybody who's thinking about getting a child care to go back to that, because there is definitely a shortage. I know there's a shortage. They're using this word quality child care. What is quality child care? There's a shortage of quality child care, meaning that you really have to know what's going on with the children of today to being able to meet their needs. And and it's not getting any easier. We know our kids have a lot of trauma. They got a lot of self-esteem. We have a lot of uh, not awareness of who we are as a people. We're promoted as being this negative person on the news, when we know that there's so many people in the community doing positive things. I believe we need to have more people that look like us in the school. We need to have more outreach with children, that they're able to see people of color doing positive things, not just sports, but that are doctors, lawyers, scientists, those kind of things. And so there's people in our community who are doing great work, of making our children aware of who they are as a people. We know, if they understood, matter of fact, if the young people understood who we were as a people, what the world, they might say one thing about us, but look at their actions. We can't even come up with a dance without the world doing it. We can't come up with a song. We can't come up with a catchy catchphrase, without the world. And not just United States. I'm talking about the world. It'll go to China. Every culture is trying to sing like us, or dance like us, or be like us, or tan like us. So if you just knew that, if you just knew that. So I think we would have a lot less black on black crime if they knew what they were killing.
Mhm.
if they were just aware of who we are and what we come from.
Right, I understand. Stacey, one of the things that I'm concerned about, I know the Buffett Institute has been running around for years, hijacking agendas. They don't really have any accountability with Black folks. Most of their staff are daughters of the Confederates or people who have no historical contacts with people of color. And it kind of like they seem like more like a think tank than they are engaging our community on issues. And so that's one of my concerns also. You got all these little fly-by-night organizations that don't interact with parents or deal with people on a grassroots level. But I don't switch up again. One of the things, going back to your point about the essential gathering place, is there are a lot of nonprofits in North Omaha that many people who live in North Omaha can't use. Or if they use them, they got to come up with a lot of liability insurance. One comes to mind is the Highlander, or up in there, you got to have some insurance to use some of those so-called public spaces that are paid for with government money. You got places right in the middle of our community, and a lot of folks are always looking for a place to meet. And so my question is, how much it costs to use your place? In other words, you said there are a lot of different organizations that come in and out of there, but how do you determine your rate or cost when somebody's using your place in the community?
When I first started the Central Gathering Place and knew it was going to be a community hub, we did a lot of calling around to see what the rates were.
The going
And
rates in terms of square footage or how you use it and all that?
I don't even know how they came up with the rates of square footage. But I have people call me every day and ask me what my rates are. My rates are from when I opened the door to now.
So you haven't increased it, in other words.
No, I have not. I charge $75 an hour.
Okay.
I charge $75 an hour, and then I don't charge a cleaning fee. I haven't had any problems with people not cleaning, coming in and cleaning up after themselves. So I charge a sanitation fee. I also give you 1 hour of unbilled to bring in your items
Oh,
and
okay.
one
So
hour.
so you don't charge for that, just the setup fee. Okay, got
Nope,
it.
I charge you. Yeah, I don't.
It's not a setup. You
I
set up
charge
time.
just a setup fee. I charge that $75 rate whether you come in and do nothing. So if I have to set up something, there's a $75 charge for that. If you
Okay.
do not serve food and you're just there for a few hours, that's all it is. And that's for a community engagement. If you're
Right.
going to serve food, I'm going to charge you another $75 sanitation fee. So the minimum that you would have to pay is 75. The max, if you're there for a few hours, is 150. Now, those are for community events. That's not for a baby shower or gender reveal. That's for the community. So say Kasim comes in and he wants to do the 101 uh, gun safety. He comes in and he says, Stacey, I need to use your space for a few hours. What's the rate? Will you have food? Yeah, 150. Because I'm gonna charge them 75 for the setup, and I'm gonna charge them 75 to come in and clean up thing. There's no hidden charge. It is a non-alcoholic venue. So because it's non-alcoholic, I do not require anybody else. Now, most of the people that I deal with are entities that have their own insurance. And just like a car, that insurance should cover you. Now, I have insurance in the event somebody falls down my stairs or something like that, but I don't require anything else. If I feel I don't have teen parties, I don't do any of that. I stay away from it. So I stay away from a lot of stuff that I feel would be high. Mm, yeah, that there's some gray area. There's not a lot of things that I do.
Okay.
So yeah.
Now, many are surprised that there are a few places where folks can host a meeting and events without information be reported downtown. In other words, some years ago, people go to certain public places and the information got out. Like apparently people say they have recording devices in some of these buildings, and some things they talked about, people knew about it, and they attributed to secret cameras and stuff in some of these so-called buildings, especially government buildings. From your perspective, how can we improve our community considering recent issues that even today there was a murder and so on, or shooting in our community? So in other words, I know you deal with a lot of different entities, and I know some of this may be outside your bandwidth, but my question is somebody who works in the community and engage a lot of people, what are some things you think we should do to help reduce some of the negativity, and particularly when you see some of the killings and murders going on in our community, to ratchet down or to lower it in our community?
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna first take the first part of that, about recordings and things. I don't think we have enough secret meetings. There's entities that I'm gonna be honest. There's entities that are making decisions about North Omaha in the back room,
Right.
and I think it's time for us to start having meetings because we're not having enough. We're not having enough because
Funny.
I'm gonna be honest. There's uh, business is business is tough. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Business is sometimes you got to not let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. And there's information. Somebody's getting some information in from back rooms because there's a whole lot of contracts that other people are getting that we're not aware of. There's money coming out into the community that we're the last to know about. So somebody needs to start having some backroom meeting somewhere so we can get some information too. No, serious. Sometimes it's not about what you know, but it's who you know. And we need to know some people that are making decisions in North Omaha.
Right.
You know, there's lots of funds coming down, and we're the last to know. How is it that there's a lot of houses, there's a lot of road work, there's a lot of everything going on in our community, and if you drive through it, not too many of the workers look like us.
Right.
There's
Right.
not too many of us look like us. So if we need to have some secret meetings, you can come to these essential gathering place and have one because there is no recording and there's no camera. it's privately owned by me. So if you go into a building that's owned by community, meetings should be done in the community. If you're
Right.
speaking about North Omaha, you need to be in North Omaha. And one thing, you got to be present in North Omaha.
Right.
You can't just come down here to make your money and leave.
Right.
I have a problem with that for sure. There's so many people making money in North Omaha who don't even spend their money here.
Right.
They come and make it. All these businesses coming in. I love free commerce. I love it. I love it. I love it. But if we don't even know when buildings are for sale, and they're sold before we even know it, we're not aware.
Right.
So some meetings need to happen somewhere, for sure.
Right.
I don't know who the people that need. No, there's people that I know that needs to come to the table.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
as Stacey, as you allude to that, I can think of a number of, like, for example, some years ago when I worked as a district, as a disproportionate minority consultant dealing with that work and trying to in Douglas County, they had a meeting about funding, and they had it at the North Washington Branch Library. And I saw so many white folks and folks who've never been in North Omaha in their lives come down for the meeting, like carpetbaggers and scallywags and so on. And so, you know, you see these folks, even some of these handkerchief head Negroes, people who don't even associate with black folks. All of a sudden, when there's money to be had, they all out there with their hands out. And again, the money that's intended for low income people, working class people, they stick their paws out like a bunch of scabbing wags, or we call them barracudas and sharks, grab the money, and then they take credit for stuff they don't do. In other words, I've seen people who work in government office, not only state, but city and county, who have never been to North and South Omaha, and they
Mhm.
purport themselves as experts. You got people at the university, social work, Creighton. They got these different programs. They've never been to North and South Omaha in terms of a community forum. So I
Well,
hear
they'll
what
they'll
you're
come
saying.
in. They'll come in long enough to do a report to become a 501(c) to get a grant um, to solve our problems that
Right.
we have. They'll come do that. They really will come do that. And we as people, one thing about the childcare profession that we've learned, we stopped giving information
What do you mean by that when you say stop giving
that
information?
we start they when it first started, we was involved in a lot of programming, and they wanted to know our woes and what problems are you having with this and with that, and then they and came in with a solution of how, but that didn't happen. So now we don't really do surveys until we know, okay, what's being done with this information.
Okay, gotcha.
How will it benefit North Omaha? So now we have a North and South Omaha coalition, and that's all the people that are there in the meeting.
Okay.
People that are for North and South Omaha. It's not for West. You have to be North or South Omaha, and we come in and meet once a month
Wow.
for child care.
Okay.
And yes, and let me just say this. I went to church a couple weeks ago, and Pastor Ballard was talking. He said, when you have a common enemy, when you have a common enemy for whatever reason, there's people that you and some of your less common enemies need to come together. And so I don't think anybody that is for North and South Omaha, whether white, black, green, purple, we need to come together. Whether if you're living in these North Omaha, no matter what you look like, we have to come together. So in a meeting might be a lot of people that don't look like me, because we know 24th 24th Street, it don't look like us no more.
Right. It's diversified over here.
So it's diversified. And so we have to meet to come together against a common enemy, whatever that enemy. I'm not saying it's a race of people or anything, but whatever the enemy might look like, that's coming in and taking over the community. We as individuals need to come together and combat that enemy. We have
By
to
the way,
fight.
I can't think of one organization in North Omaha that does convening meetings. I mean, I know the Urban League used to do something back in the day. Every
Mhm.
time I look up, they're running with their young professionals out at UNO. And I even saw one time about a few months ago, they had a private meeting where you had to get the secret passwords to hang out with some of them handkerchief head Negroes. And again, I say that very seriously because, again, they don't bust a grape. You go up there and you see the food truck up there, and they're not any different than, Habitat does some strange things. Basically got all the white staff, white board members. NCAP's another one, used to be GOKA, Great Armor Community Action. The director lives in Lincoln. You never see him in the community doing anything. They don't convene people. And I always say, shut them all down. They shouldn't be being nonprofits if they have no outcomes and no data strategic
Mhm.
plan to deal with that. But I want to come back to that question of violence and some of the emerging things in our community. I know that you
Mhm.
have a lot of infinite wisdom about how we can deal with conflicts and so on. But what are some of the things we need to be addressing to deal with some of the craziness that's going on in our society today, and particularly in Omaha from your vantage point as a person who's been around?
Um, I think one thing we have to address is mental illness,
Okay.
drug addiction. Um, and once again, it comes from the root of not knowing your identity, who we are as a people,
Your history.
how strong we are as a people. I, I can't stress it enough to anybody that was thrown guts and turned it into a delicacy.
Oh, you're talking about
Maybe
chitlins, right?
I'm talking about chilling. I mean,
Oh,
we're that people.
the
We're that people. No, think about that. We're that people that was thrown guts. We can overcome. No, I don't have the identity of, I know that I'm an overcomer. I know that I can do anything. I tell my kids you can do anything. I tell them how smart they are, how brilliant you are. Do you know you're a creator? You come from a creator. So if I love Leo Lewis. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know a lot of these folks. I know a
Leo,
lot of them.
I love every time that we get together and we speak of Black culture or or anything to do with who we are. We're so rich. We're so rich in identity. I mean, we're so rich. How is it that if you go, remember the study years ago they did with little black kids,
Oh yeah,
and they showed them a
the
Barbie
down,
doll,
yeah,
and
the Brown versus Board of Education, the one
yeah,
that dealt with, yeah,
and our little kids wanted to be more like that, and
right,
because
white folks instead of
like
black, they
white
picked the
kids
white
and the long
doll
hair,
versus the black doll.
we gotta get back to who we are, and we're who we are. This melon, this colored skin, the way we talk, this wide nose, these wide lips that people are getting injections for. The curve of my hips and the size of my what we got to get back to. That's who we are, and
Appreciate our
that's what
culture and our people. I got you.
people, and that's what everybody else wants, but we hate ourselves.
Well, Malcolm talks about that. Who taught you to hate yourself in his
Yeah.
famous speech? And so, I want to switch back to something you said earlier. I think before you said you also have a group there that does a Black History type study thing to
Yeah.
meet there,
Let
which I
me,
know
you know what? They
that.
just start. Let me find
But
their
no,
name.
but my point is, how often do they meet? And then also, what are the age kind of group who's there? We talking about high school, junior high?
We're talking about high schoolers.
Okay,
We're
gotcha.
talking there. We're talking about high schoolers. There is actually a group that meets there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. They're practicing. They do all kind of dance, song, um, fashion show. They put on a big Black History production in February. They're practicing now. They started last week. John is their leader, but I got to get the name, and I
Oh
apologize.
no, we don't need to know all the details.
I do.
I'm
I
just
want the people
yeah,
to know
I'm
who
just
they
trying to get
are.
the overall of that you actually
Okay.
do that at your location. I'm gonna switch up on you a little bit here.
Okay.
Um,
They are, let me tell you, it is called Council of Black Student Leadership, BSLC.
okay, got you.
Yeah. Black
Uh,
student, and it's high school students.
okay. The other point I want to get to you is when you say funding for those programs that come into your city, they have their own funding. So you don't fund them. You just give them a location to meet and they pay you for use of the space. So they're all independent entities, in other words, right?
I do fund some things. So right now, I am sponsoring a 5-week program that happens on Zoom. We were supposed to meet. It's winter time. We were supposed to meet there in person. BC Clark has a Black leadership, business leadership that we started yesterday for 5 weeks. I did sponsor that. I did sponsor 20 people to come to utilize that, because entrepreneurship to me is ownership, is that little edge between, it might be that Friday paycheck paying bills and you don't have money for groceries. But I believe if you had your own business, it might be that little gap between paycheck to paycheck. And I don't care whether it's doing hair, nails, dog watching, babysitting. Every person should have a business. Every person is an entrepreneur. How big that business is what you put into it. But every child, and at the age of 14, you don't get SNAP no more. So now our 14-year-olds might be forced to go to work. And remember the day when you at an age you had to stop going to school because you had to work. But now at 14, you don't get SNAP benefits into your home. Your mom doesn't receive food stamps for you anymore. So
Oh, I did not know that. So you're saying that. So
14.
I thought it was used to be 18 as long as you're in school or in the
Yep,
house. So
nope,
you mean,
14.
and
It's
see that,
14.
and the reason I raised that is there are a lot of us who are far removed from low income or don't interact.
Mm.
So we don't know some of the advocacy issues. I do know that back in the day, we were a lot more tighter. We would support each other and advocate, but you got a whole host of handkerchief heads and bootlickers and stuff who advocate only for themselves. Again, I'm not being funny. You will never see
No,
them advocating for poor people. And
I'm
a lot of us grew up poor, and you would never know some of these guys who grew up like the rest of us are challenged. I'm saying there were some black folks who were middle income because, that's who they were. But at the end of the day, you do not see the give back or the kind of a challenging collectively for our community. And then one issue I raised with folks is, can you say 3 times in the past year that you've done somebody who was less fortunate or oppressed in our community? And you'd be surprised the number of deaf mutes or people who can't answer that question. So that's what I think is important to challenge the Negro bourgeoisies and elites and the sellouts and collaborators who, you see them downtown and they won't even speak to you anymore. But when they needed help, they know how to find you in the barber shop, the beauty salon, or, the supermarket. So that's one reason I have no mercy for them, because some of them are just outright evil and selfish and
I
narcissistic
guess
and so
I
on.
haven't dealt with, I don't know. I don't belong to any organization. I, I, I'm surrounded by people that I feel always, know how to give back.
So you talk about people in your business circle that you operate, they give back, the ones you interact with.
Yeah, the people that I know,
Wow.
Candace Price, Sherman Wells,
Okay.
Leo Lewis,
Okay. Gotcha.
Kara Warner.
Okay.
Those are the people that Kasim. Those are the people that I deal with, and maybe I'm just
I'm talking about the folks who's making them
I
six
don't know
figure
them.
incomes. Those
I
people
don't
with
know them.
two
I
hundred
don't know
thousand
them.
dollars a year, you will never
I don't
see
know
them.
them.
They they
I
they
ain't rubbed
got you on
shoulders with
our
them
backs,
yet.
but you won't never
Uh,
see them out
I don't.
speaking.
You know what? I can look. I'm sure I know them, but they yes, if you ain't helping me,
Get out of my way.
I don't even pay no mind to you.
I got you.
I don't know anybody that doesn't speak to me.
Okay. Good.
And maybe because I don't know.
Well,
I,
you probably grassroots and you're working with the regular people instead
I
of the,
just work with
yeah,
regular people.
yeah. And as
Yeah,
Malcolm says, the little
but
man, little
listen,
woman, not the one scared.
I am going after more, and
Okay.
I'm going to go after more because our community needs more.
You better believe we need it
I got
more
to
than
go after
anything.
more because people in my community need more. And I really, there's people that are around me, Shawnee Hernandez,
Okay.
Rhea Vincent, um, uh, just people who want to do business.
Right.
And we need that. We just need that little bit of break of income to get us to the next
To
level.
the next level, to be,
Yes.
as they say, where you
Yes.
want to
Still
get something.
popping popcorn. All those people that they're about this
But
far from
gotcha.
going to that level,
That next
and
level.
it takes money.
Right. I got you. I hear you.
Yeah.
I was at a recent board meeting and I looked at some of the hundreds of nonprofits that pimp our community, and some we could be eliminated because they're not helping some of the things and so on. Some are, that. But one of the things I'm also concerned about is strategic plans, who's on the board of directors, how do you interact with grassroots or grass tops, what are your long range goals, all those things. And like I said, I spoke about a year ago to the director, who's a former director of the Urban League, and he said he didn't have one. In your work, what kind of long-term plans do you have, or how do you measure what you're going to do, let's say a year or two from now, or do you plan out like that in the kind of work that you do?
Right now, wintertime is always a strategic time for me to really plan. The Bible says to write the vision and make it plain. And so my vision is for me to own as much, share as much, give as much, and it's not all written down in a strategic plan. And I think that's some of the things that probably hurt our community too. On that business class last night, it's really getting the basics of really knowing because I did not have a plan when I started this,
Oh,
and
wow.
I did not have a plan. I sat down with my best friend who passed away from breast cancer. I
Wow.
sat when I moved back to Omaha, sat on the floor, and we sat down, and I said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to open my childcare center. And that's what I did. I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to own this building, the essential gathering place. And I did not have all the I's dotted and T's crossed of what that would be. Um, you said religion, I'll say spiritual. The Lord leads me as I go. So right now he's telling me I need to learn more. I need to learn more about business, and that's what I need to do. So right now, I own things because it was a plan that was given to me to do, and I did it. I wasn't scared. I'm not a scary person. I'm not scared about losing. I'm not scared about winning. So that plan for me right now is to get more um, intelligence about what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I don't know the how to tell somebody to get to the next level. And so I got to learn how to get to the next level to be in that six-figure person so I can and to help more people.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not one of the people that I'm trying to get wealth to move out of my neighborhood. I'm trying to get wealth to share it with my neighborhood.
Gotcha. Understand. One of the elders in our community asked me in a meeting some years back, why are we meeting at places outside our community? Again, you kind of alluded to that, Stacey, and then so on. And my question is, do you ever host community forums or listening sessions? Are you participating in anything like that in your location?
Oh yeah, I do. So the Central Gathering Place was the campaign office for Terrell McKinney.
Okay.
And so we had plenty of forum when OHA was going through the housing thing. They met in the sanctuary lots. Councilwoman Councilwoman Juanita used to meet in the building with the OHA meeting. So yeah, it was utilized. So I think right now people act like they don't know it's there, and it's there. It's there for the community. The doors are open. It's not free, and I think that's what I start saying. It's not free. It's not free because my electricity is not free.
Right, I understand.
My gas bill is not free.
No, I understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
So it is a minimum cost. You can go to Scooters for free.
Right. Drink some coffee. You better buy a cup of coffee while you're there. They don't want you to come up in there.
But if you want to see and come and utilize the Central Gathering Place, it's going to cost you.
By the way, I have no clue how big this place is. I know kind of like where the location is, but how big? How many people can be accommodated in your building or in that place, the gathering place?
So we say if you need a dance floor, 150 is the max for the venue side. The sanctuary has a seating capacity of 400.
It's a big.
So it's still it's a sanctuary, and then under the sanctuary is the dining area and the kitchen. So it's quite big. It's almost 4,000 square feet in the venue side. Okay. So and we did a little bit, fixed it up a little bit. We tried to not to take away from the it's quite an old building, not to take away from the historical side of it, because it was True Vine Baptist Church. It was Central Park Church. So it's an historical building. Yeah, it's a long-standing church building.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, my other question is, what can we do to support your work from a grassroots perspective? In other words, what are some things you need to do, the kind of work that you do to help branch out, or if people in the community want to support or volunteer help you out, what can they do to help you become more viable from your perspective? Stacey?
Just share word of mouth. I post. I use every free entity I can, Facebook, to share that. So just share, and they do a great job of that. Of course, they can always do more. I had a phone call yesterday from somebody in the Kavanaugh campaign office, District 19 or something, I think, some other district wanted to use it for a town hall meeting, and it wasn't available. And so the word is getting out. So people call me all the time, and our community uses it lots. Baby showers, gender reveals, unfortunately, repasses. I do a lot of those. So
by the way, some people, that was a term that I learned late in life, the concept of repass. After the funeral, people sometimes get together and have a meal in a place, because some funeral homes don't have a kitchen or dining for them to do that. So they go to the graveyard or site, and then they come back and they sit down and share a meal on behalf of the deceased or their family and so on. So that's the repass that you offer at your location for some of that in our community. And it's easy to get to, and so on and so on.
Yeah, that's a repass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had too many. I've had a lot.
Too many of them up there, too many repass in our community.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we're moving into 2020, excuse me, 2026, is there anything out there that you're working on? Any surprises, anything you're working for the new year? As they say, what is your New Year's resolution, things that you're working on that you see as on the horizons that will help the gathering place and us as a community go forward?
Okay. Loose lips sink ships.
Okay.
No, no.
Wait, you got to deconstruct that. You got to help me out because I know a lot of loose lips running around here.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
yeah.
I actually I do have some things that I'm working on. As far not so much as a gathering place. I think that the gathering place is trending. It's definitely getting utilized a
Trending
lot.
upward, as we would say.
Yes, it definitely is. The community has blessed me, word of mouth. If I have um, any event that I have, I'm sure to get two events from it.
Okay.
And so even in December, normally December is a very slow month for me, but it's not been. Um, it's every weekend we have something. I don't post it like I used to because it's I I don't need the I don't we don't celebrate if they people see you winning too much, they don't celebrate you.
No,
My
I
husband used
understand.
to say he used to talk to Frank Daly, and he said, Frank, why don't you put some new stuff in the stage too? He said, man, if I put new stuff, they'll stop coming.
Hmm.
People, we don't like to see each other win. And
Wow.
so you you I'm not you just you can't be too much. You just really can't. And I'm really low key, so it doesn't bother me. But I have plans. Yeah, they're just not they're shared with few. Um and then some things you just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see what's going on a lot with the government, with some of the cuts. How will that affect childcare? With some of the cuts, how will that affect trucking? I have a trucking business. How will that affect that? So a lot of stuff is intentional on what's going on. But one thing I can say to people, no matter what the economy is looking like, it's always still a building time.
Good. Good.
We always still build.
We got about a few minutes left and before the end of the program, and I wanted to ask you a question in terms of you said you're a one-person operation, so you don't have other staff members to work with you, or how do you do the childcare thing then?
I have staff. I have staff at the child care, meaning um, I am the head.
Okay.
So I don't have a board or anything like that. I have this wonderful young lady that works with me. She's on maternity leave. My daughter, um, my oldest daughter is a chemist. She graduated from Michigan State um, last year. Um, the business, everything is growing. So the child care center has been full for the last 2 years. When everybody was seeing a decline, my numbers have still been very high. So I asked my daughter to step out of her field of chemistry, which is a very low field for Black African American women, and I asked her to come help me in my business, and she's the organizer.
Okay.
So she's been helping me lots, and my staff is great. I have 8 young women that work for me and a gentleman, and then my husband, who I don't even think I could function without him. Um, he's the one that keeps me with the little things of babe. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. It snowed. The man came and shoveled. We got to get up and throw some salt. And so he takes care of making sure we takes care of all of that, and keeps me real grounded. So Mr. Warlow, my husband, and so it's I can't even. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how I do it.
What else? What do you
I
do?
don't know. I really don't. I don't.
By the way, I was talking to some women in a professional level and so on, and they were talking the issue about childcare and costs. My kids are all adults, well in adulthood, and I really didn't have to deal with that. My relatives all been from the city. But what are we talking people pay today for childcare? Because I have no clue what the numbers. They threw something at me, but it didn't even sound real. It was kind of extremely
Well,
different from what I knew back in the day. What are we
there was a
talking
post that came out that childcare is more than rent.
for? Like, in other words, you pay as much as you pay a mortgage payment or your rent
Yeah,
payment to
yeah.
take care of the
Childcare,
child?
the childcare is very expensive. Um,
Wow.
yeah, childcare is very expensive. So that's why the subsidy is so important. And not only just that the 185%. I know a lot of people don't understand that. If you go to my page, Stacey McClain Hunnicutt on Facebook, I got it, it's broken down to if you have one child, if you have two kids, a three-family home, God forbid you have a two-parent home. Both listen to this. You work, husband work, and you have two, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Those are full-time childcare. And back in the day, grandma can help. But if you pull up to any job, guess what? Grandma's working. Grandma's working. So
Right.
there's no, so what think about it. Remember latchkey kids was
Right.
going home by
Right.
themselves. You had a little keychain around their neck.
Right.
That won't work nowadays because we got every predator at the flick of a computer. Every predator coming into somebody's baby's home. It used to be you can be at home 7 and 8, to lock the door. Mama be home at 6. Your
Right.
dinner's in the microwave. No, no, the internet killed
Right.
that
Right. I
because
get it.
every predator is on the internet.
By the way, we're going to close down. I want to give you a chance, Stacey McClain Hunnicutt. Any comments you want to make to our audience as we close down? Any closing comments you want to make? And then also, how do they catch up with you if they want to catch up with you?
Stacey McClain Hunnicutt. I am on Facebook. You can reach me. My telephone number is public 402-612-3143. You can call me. What I would say to anybody is today, get in the mirror, look at yourself and say, I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can be anything. Because sometimes, even as an older person, we have to go back to that mindset that I can do anything. And I have a business in me. I'm creative. And whatever, sit down and be the solution to any problem we have in this community. There is somebody that has a solution. So please step up, know your worth, know that you're needed, and be the solution to some of the problems that our community is facing.
Okay. Well, Stacey, we appreciate you being on the show and sharing what are some of the wonderful things that you're working on and the gathering place. That's an important place in our community that we should get more and more people involved in. So it's always a pleasure to have community folks share things that we sometimes don't hear in the traditional media. Because again, oftentimes you don't get the time and the space to share all the stuff you did. So thank you very much for being with us at throwing down some heavy light more the organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Well, we'd like to close out and say in the coming year, 2026, we're going to have some other programs and issues that bring community folks who traditionally don't get into media. There are a lot of good people doing good work in our community. And too often, those unsung heroes don't get the accolades or at least the volume is the other things that they need. So hopefully we'll do a job related more to that. And if you have other feedback or questions, feel free to contact us, moreomaha.org. And again, we're listed on our webpage as well as our Facebook page. So as we always end our program, may the force be with you. Morocco.